we've got a lot to cover today. There's a lot of really good tactics and strategies that I learned in my research for this talk. So I want to dive into it. But before we dive into it, I'm going to ask folks that are here live with us two quick questions. So one is, what type of organization are you at? So you work for an agency or a business? If so, what type of business? Put your answer in the chat so I can see it here, because I'm really curious who is here, what type of business that you're working for. Let me know if it's an agency. Oh, I see somebody's in-house at a tech company. Zoe, awesome. Thank you for letting me know. Let's get a few more of those in here. The other question I'm going to ask, put this in the chat, is what is your biggest SEO challenge? And the reason why I ask that is I want to make sure that we scratch your itch today so that I can basically talk about some of the research that I put together for this presentation in light of your particular issue. So in the chat, what is your biggest SEO challenge? And I love the fact that we've got some in-house folks on today. Zoe's at a tech company in-house, Pamela's in-house at financial services company, and we've got Callie who's in-house for retail, and we've got Emil who's self-employed, writing fantasy football content. I love it. Also, if anybody is able to put in their biggest SEO challenge, put that into the chat too. But I am, oh, I see that Zoe's saying that she's got hundreds of pieces of content on her website that are aging, and she's trying to figure out, how do you optimize them at scale? You find the easy button and you press it and you're done. That's the answer to that one. But we will talk about that actually. So that's great. I'm excited about today's presentation, as I said, because today's presentation gave me the rare opportunity to talk to 12 SEO rock stars. So basically what I did was, in the second half of this year, I did some research for the presentation. And what I was looking into is I wanted to understand what tactics are working for SEO leaders who are working with the biggest brands to scale SEO traffic. But it's not only what tactics are working, but what changes are they seeing in SEO? And also, what strategies are they planning to deploy going into 2023 as they're doing their planning for next year? So the research for today's presentation was conducted in the second half of this year. And I also want to talk about, like, the reason why we're here to talk about SEO is because SEO traffic is valuable, as we all know. And the reason why it's valuable is because search traffic has intent. At the end of the day, when somebody's searching, they're asking a question related to a product or service that we are selling, and they have the intent to buy that service at the end of the day or purchase that product. And it's the intent behind that traffic that really differentiates organic traffic and makes it more valuable than advertising traffic or other forms of interruption marketing. Or even when we're doing email marketing or social media, it's the intent behind those searches that make it valuable. But the thing about SEO is that it's competitive. And we all know that, like, Google keeps changing the rules. So that's some of what we're gonna talk about today. So getting into it, yes.
Bill, just a quick interruption. So just some housekeeping. So we have a chat button and a Q&A button. So any questions that you might have, please type it in the Q&A section. So I'll be collecting some of those questions and we'll leave them to the end. However, if there's any pressing or clarifying question, I will ask it along the way to Dale so we get clarification. But yeah, we'll be leaving 15 minutes at the end for some questions. So feel free to ask any questions. So I'm sorry, Dale, back to you.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you for that clarification. And the reason why I'm here, the reason why I'm excited about SEO, because I'm an SEO guy. Like, I think about SEO in the shower. I talk to my friends about SEO, and when they get sick of hearing it, I get new friends. But I want to introduce you guys to some of my friends who do like to talk about SEO. And these are the folks that I interviewed when I was doing the research for this presentation. These are SEO leaders who are running SEO campaigns at big brands. They're in the trenches, they're growing their SEO visibility, their organic visibility for the brands that they work with. And not only are they a good looking group here for these the headshots that we have, but they're all rock stars when it comes to SEO. So we really had some geek out conversations about what tactics are working and what we're seeing in the field at the moment. Now, these folks that I talked to, they're working with big brands like HP, AARP, Kraft, Citizen, HubSpot, IBM. So they're really working with some large websites with global organic visibility. Now, I mentioned a little bit about me. I've worked my entire career at the intersection of technology and marketing. I studied AI in grad school. That's how I originally got into SEO. We were building a search engine for the Department of Defense. It was basically taking pictures of airplanes flying overhead and identifying whether we should shoot them down or not. You can thank me for that. And then I also built a supercomputer for the NSA. It was basically tracking phone calls, like who you call, and measuring your distance from a terrorist in the United States. So you can also thank me for that. And so I've been working for 15 years now in digital marketing strategy, and I run my agency Fire and Spark. At Fire and Spark, we do strategy for SEO content. We're not an SEO agency. We're not a content marketing agency, but we do engineer SEO content for our clients. And we've worked with a number of clients, some of which you may have heard of. Now, to get into the meat of today's presentation, the scaling opportunities that I identified while having these conversations with these 12 SEO leaders, they were numerous, but I really boiled it down to 5 that I think are crucial for everyone who's doing marketing to understand going into 2023. So the first one is how to stay ahead of the algorithm. We know that the algorithm is changing, but it really helps to understand the direction that Google is taking its algorithm so that we can skate to where the puck is going rather than skate to where the puck is. And we'll talk about that. The other one is AI. Like, there are a number of AI tools that are out there that are being released specifically for SEO. For some of them are SEO suites that do a number of different things. Some of them are point tools for a specific part of our SEO workflow. But this is something that the SEO specialists I talked to, and including me, we're all paying attention to for 2023. The next one is optimizing existing content. That's why I love it that Zoe mentioned she has a ton of content on her website, hundreds of pieces of content, Zoe mentioned, that she's trying to figure out how to optimize. And that's a big opportunity for a lot of brands to scale their organic traffic that they're ignoring. A lot of brands are just thinking about how do we generate new content. So the next opportunity that I identified is adapting to post-COVID search behavior. Once again, making sure that we're skating to where the puck is going. But this time what we're talking about is the way that searches have changed. Our customers, the way their search behavior has changed. Now, the last opportunity is really optimizing for new search features. What this means is that there's new stuff on Google search results pages. And these are new opportunities for us to rank on the first page of Google search results and at the top of Google search results, but they're also getting in the way. If we already have results, or maybe we get into the #1 position for web results, but there's other stuff above it that's really pushing us down the page. So this is something that we need to understand going into 2023. So first, we're going to talk about scaling SEO, what we mean by that. So the issues that we see when we're scaling SEO is #1, like creating content at scale. That can definitely be challenging. And then building authority at scale. Building authority with Google is all about making sure Google trusts you, your brand, your business, your website, and your content so that you can earn rankings. And doing that at scale can be tough. And then maintaining topical relevance. We all know that if you're creating a lot of different types of content on a lot of different types of content, or sorry, a lot of different topics, then it's hard for Google to know what your brand is relevant for. And it's hard to build authority for specific topic niches that you want to rank for. The next is multi-language or multi-region websites and content. So if you want to target multiple languages or multiple countries, that can be difficult. The next one here is crawl and optimization. Optimizing your crawl and your indexation. So we want to make sure that Google can see all of your content at the end of the day. And when Google sees it, Google indexes as much of it as possible. So it's important that we talk about dual SEO strategy. So what this is doing bottom-up and top-down SEO strategy simultaneously at the same time. So bottom-up SEO strategy is the way a lot of people normally think about it, which is that we're thinking about the signals and the things we want Google to see. Like we want Google to see good content that targets particular keywords. We want Google to see links. We want Google to see engagement with our content. So we're making sure that those things happen on our website by creating the right content and optimizing it and all that good stuff. That's bottom up because we're starting with the signals we want Google to see. When we're doing top-down SEO strategy, we're actually starting with our marketing strategy. So what customers do we want to go after? What products or services are we marketing? What is our messaging going to be? And then from that, we're figuring out, okay, well, what channels are we going to be on? So we're going to be doing content marketing and we're going to be doing events. And from there, what type of content we're going to create, what type of events, and how does this all work together? What we're seeing going into 2023 is you really have to think about both. We have to make sure that from a bottom-up perspective, we are showing Google the signals that Google needs to see. But at the same time, we're thinking about SEO as an integrated strategy that is part of many marketing activities that we're doing that fit into our top-down, high-level marketing strategy that we've crafted for our brand. So we're going to get into the first thing here, which is really staying ahead of search algorithm changes. So these are the founders of Google. And when they created Google, they were in grad school. And because they were in grad school, they were keenly aware of the way that academic scholars are evaluated, because academic scholars are evaluated in part based on the papers that they write and whether those papers are referenced by other scholars. So if I write an academic paper and other academics at other universities cite my paper when they're doing their research, that means my paper was influential. And I'm an authoritative, influential scholar in that space. So what the Google founders did was they took this idea that they knew from the academic world and they translated it to the web. On the web, we don't have academic papers with long lists of references at the end. We have clickable links. And so when we have a website or content that has clickable links pointing to it, those are the most useful, authoritative, most referenced pages and websites online. And that's what Google was looking at. So that was what I'm describing here is Google's original PageRank algorithm that the founders created to determine the most authoritative pages that should rank online. And what I'm describing is a rules-based algorithm. The reason why it's a rules-based algorithm is because Google's engineers were coming up with the rules for how to rank content, and they were coding it into their search engine. What's changed over time is that Google is now an AI-based search engine, and AI-based search engines work differently. The way they work is that the AI is using training data to basically create the rules. The rules are not hard-coded by engineers. And then the training that the AI does is what it uses to determine the rankings, whether your website is going to rank #1. So back when Google was a rules-based search engine, what was important was understanding the rules, and those translated into SEO best practices, and that's what you did. Nowadays, with Google's AI search engine, what we have to understand is how the AI is trained. Because if we can understand how the AI is trained, we can understand what we need to do to rank our content to get more organic traffic and rankings. So the way Google is using AI is for crawling and indexing the web, understanding what search queries mean, and then also indexing pages and building the search results. So Google's using AI in a number of places. And there's a number of different AI algorithms. I'm not going to go into detail, but there's natural language processing algorithms, machine learning. There's a number of different algorithms that make up what Google is doing. And AI is better because searchers get better results. And also the AI algorithms can learn and they can operate at scale. And Google can update the algorithms faster by building better training data or enlarging or creating a larger training set, rather than Google having to like rebuild or re-engineer their algorithm when they want to improve their algorithm. And critically, and this is really critical piece, with an AI search engine, the AI can be trained by humans. Now, I'm not saying that engineers like me, I worked as an engineer that build search engines, they're not human, but they're a certain type of human. they're an engineer that's creating the rules for the old type of search engine. But now the humans that are building the training data sets are everyday people. Google will recruit everyday people to build these training sets. So the AI does a better job of basically making a decision that your average searcher would expect to see rather than engineers. So how does Google train its AI? The first thing is that Google is identifying the signals. These are the things that Google's going to look at on your website, and it's going to feed this data to the AI. These are things like links to your content, the words on the page, the keywords in your title tag, things like that. The next thing Google's doing is they're using humans, like I said. Google calls them quality raters. And what these quality raters are doing is they're looking at websites and rating them. How trustworthy are they? How accurate is the information? And they're not using these humans to basically determine what your rankings are going to be for your website. Instead, what they're doing is they're building a training data set that Google's AI will use for its training. And what we have down here is a search quality, is basically the Google search quality raters guide, which is a 170-page document. If you really geek out about SEO, that you could take a look at. Reading through it will help you understand what these humans are looking for and how they're training Google's AI. Now, in addition to the human quality raters, Google is monitoring what searchers do on the search results page. So if people click on your result, that means that Google must have shown them what they were looking for. And if people click on your result and they stay on your website, that means you had the answer they were looking for. If instead they don't click on your result, or maybe they do click on your result, but they immediately bounce right back to Google, then that means that you didn't have what they were looking for that query, and you'll drop down in the rankings. So monitoring search behavior is a really important way of how Google's AI figures out what websites to rank well for different queries. So you can look at Google search engine and you can type in a query, like I made up this query, what is go time? And I put it in quotes. The reason why I put it in quotes is because if you put it in quotes, Google's going to look for these words on pages online rather than using its AI to figure out what it means. So when I did this with what is go time, Google found a couple pages that have the phrase what is go time on them. And these two pages actually have what is go time in the title. And that's the reason why Google's showing these results for this particular query when I put quotes around it. Now, if I don't put quotes around it, then now Google's using its AI to do all of its magic that Google's AI does. So it's looking at this query and it's trying to interpret, well, what is this person actually looking for? And based on the results that Google's showing, we have an idea of what Google thinks the person might be searching for. So Google thinks they might be looking for software called GoTime. So that's one thing they might be looking for. Also, if you look farther down the page, Google thinks they might be looking for the definition of the term GoTime in the Urban Dictionary. Also, Google thinks they might be looking for where did GoTime come from? So that might be what they're trying to find, or the meaning of due time. So this is actually a misspelling. So Google's predicting, oh, well, maybe they just misspelled and they were looking for what is due time. And then also, what does it mean to go back in time? So you can see the difference here between the old version of Google that was just looking for the words on the page when you type in a query, and the new version of Google that really is looking to understand the intent behind the query and give different options for what might satisfy that intent. So now I'm going to get into second thing that we think is important here, which is adapting to post-COVID search behavior. Now, I already mentioned search intent. Search intent is really, what is the actual intent behind a query? And the example I'm going to give here is, when my daughter turned 8, it was right in the middle of COVID. So we were unable to do what she wanted to do for her birthday, which was to go to the American Girl doll store. So what this is showing here is a video of American Girl dolls. These videos are a little bit creepy, but my daughter loves them. They're dolls that talk to each other and learn valuable life lessons. That's what this is all about. Now, my daughter wanted to go to the American Girl doll store because she wanted to look at buy a doll and look at the accessories, but we couldn't do it because it was COVID. So instead, what we did was we looked online for see if what we could purchase online. As COVID started to decline, we were able to go to a store in the Boston area. But the problem was the American Girl doll store in Boston had closed for good permanently, so we couldn't go there. So we had to find another one. We found there was one in New York. The one in Boston area was a used doll store. The one in New York was the store that we actually ended up going to. So quick story, we did the trip to New York. Like, we ended up doing a road trip down to New York. And what we found, or what I learned, is that you can make an appointment to have your doll's hairstyled, which was crazy to me, but that's what they do at the American Girl doll store in New York. So what you guys are all asking or thinking right now is, why is Dale talking about American Girl dolls, and what does this have to do with SEO? The reason why I'm talking about American Girl dolls and telling you about the story of my daughter, and how it took us a while to actually find an American Girl doll store and go to one, is because during this entire process of trying to figure out how my daughter was going to make it to an American Girl doll store, we used Google to find information. Now, we went to Google multiple times and we typed in American Girl. Now, even though we were typing in the same query, which was American Girl, we were actually looking for different things every time we typed this in. One time, we were looking for, I'll stay on this slide for a little bit longer. One time, when I searched for American Girl, what I was really looking for was, I was trying to find these American Girl doll videos, because I was trying to understand like what my daughter was talking about when she kept talking about American Girl dolls. Then when I searched American Girl, I was trying to find the closest American Girl doll store, and I found that it had closed. So I searched American Girl again, and I found a used American Girl doll store in Boston we were able to go to. Then I searched American Girl doll again, and I was trying to find a store that was actually open, and I found one in New York. Then I searched American Girl doll again, and I was trying to look up the hours for the store in New York. And I was trying to make an appointment to have my daughter's American Girl doll hairstyle. But all of these different searches, even though I was typing the same thing, they had different intents behind them. And for marketers, when we're trying to basically attract traffic with SEO and rankings and get that traffic to come to our site and get those people to convert and buy something, it's the intent behind the search that actually matters. Because if somebody types in American Girl and they're looking for the American Girl doll store, like, I might be selling American Girl dolls on eBay or my own website. So I'm selling used American Girl dolls, but they're actually looking for the American Girl doll store. I can't satisfy that intent, so those visitors aren't going to convert for me. So understanding the intent behind the queries that you're optimizing for, and which of those intents you can satisfy, so you can target those intents with your content and your calls to action, is really important. Now, remember, there's different types of intent for different types of searches. Some intent is transactional, like if I type in American Girl baby doll, this is a type of doll where I'm really just looking for a place where I can buy this doll. Or it might be informational, where I want to know when the bitty baby doll was born. Or it might be navigational, where I'm trying to search for an American Girl store party reservation. So I'm really just trying to navigate to the reservations page. Or it might be like a commercial search, where I'm searching for a specific product, like American Girl ski outfit, and I'm just looking for a product page with a buy button on it. But understanding intent is super important. Now, I'm going to give another example. This is a project that we did for a company that sells 3D printers. 3D printers, they print objects, out of plastic, and you can buy them pretty cheaply nowadays for your house if that's what you're into. But this maker of 3D printers, they wanted to rank for the keyword 3D printing and the keyword 3D printer. It makes sense, but what we found is that anybody who's typing in 3D printing, they're actually looking for a service that will do the printing for them. they're not looking to buy a 3D printer. And what we found when somebody types in 3D printer is those are people who are actually looking to buy a 3D printing machine. So it's super important here. Like if there's very similar keywords, but they have very different intents. If I run a shop where I have a bunch of 3D printers and I'm happy to print objects for you and mail them to you, that's a service. And that's a very different intent from a business that builds 3D printer machines and is looking for people who are looking to buy a 3D printer. Now, because intent matters so much and we need to be optimizing for the right search intents, customer intimacy matters for SEO. What I mean by that is if you don't understand the questions that your customers are asking when they're making a purchase decision for the types of products or services that you sell, then it's hard. It's going to be hard for you to choose the right search intents. It's going to be hard for you to write content. It's going to be hard for you to build calls to action that are going to resonate with your customers. So your team and you as a marketer need to make sure you have exposure to real customers. A lot of times when we're doing SEO, we're looking at keywords, we're looking at keyword tools. Maybe we're using an advanced AI tool to tell us what keywords we should be optimizing for. But what really matters with Google's AI search engine is that we understand what our customers are searching for, the questions they have when they're making a purchase decision. And it's really hard to do that if we're not talking to real customers. So as SEO specialists, we need to make sure that we're talking to real customers. Now, the next opportunity for 2023 I'm going to talk about is AI tools. Now, we all know that all software is getting smarter with AI. I mean, if you use Siri or Alexa, like you already know that. But marketing tools are definitely getting smarter, and there's going to be some huge increases in their capabilities in 2023. But SEO tools specifically are going to make some huge improvements. Now, traditional SEO tools were rules-based, and they had scale limitations, and the creativity that we were applying to our content and our keyword selection was really coming from the human operator, not from the tool. Now, with AI SEO tools, they deploy machine learning. So that means the tools actually get smarter as we use them, which can be scary when you see it happen, but it's super useful. And they scale efficiently, so they can operate with huge websites, huge amount of traffic, huge numbers of keywords. And then also there's data-driven creativity. So I think this is synthetic creativity, not human creativity. But what it can do is it can help you write your SEO content, help you select the right keywords, things like that. And I'll give some examples. One example is TwinWord. This is an SEO tool that I've used, and it impressed me. It impressed me with how smart it was. And here's one example. If I was basically using it, and I was testing it out, and I typed in SEO agency because I happen to run an SEO agency, and it was giving me some keywords, and it said it was giving me commercial keywords and local keywords. And some of the local keywords it gave me were things like Boston SEO agency. And that makes a lot of sense because we're an SEO agency, we're in Boston. So a local keyword that would make sense is, Boston SEO agency. But another keyword that this tool recommended was small business SEO agency. And it labeled it as a local keyword. And when I thought about it, I was like, oh, that's really smart, because usually small business owners are looking for a local SEO agency. And this tool actually figured that out. So what we can expect as the tools get smarter, and particularly like keyword tools, is they're just going to get smarter about categorizing keywords and suggesting keywords in a way that's more useful. And I think in 2023, we're going to see big improvements in how smart these questions get. And Carlos, I know you're monitoring the Q&A, so feel free to to jump in if there's anything that should be answered now rather than at the end. And then another example is Surfer SEO. Surfer SEO is interesting because it'll use AI to make suggestions while you're writing SEO content, but it really takes you to another level where instead of it just helping you to write a piece of SEO content, it'll tell you what to do. So if I sit down in front of my computer today and I want to do some SEO work for my website, Should I write a new piece of content? Should I optimize an existing piece of content? Or maybe I should do something completely different, like do some keyword research. Surfer AI will tell me that. It'll say, do this, then do this, then do that. It's doing a bunch more than just helping you write SEO content. Another one is WordLift. WordLift is interesting because it'll help you add schema to your content. So schema is basically code that lives behind the text. So people visiting a page or viewing a page won't see the schema code. It's really just in there for Google. But imagine if I'm writing a piece of content about the Colosseum. Well, actually, I grew up in New Haven, Connecticut, where we had a Colosseum. But there's also a Colosseum everybody knows in Italy, in Rome, but they're two different Colosseums. So we can use schema to tell Google which Colosseum we're talking about. And that's super valuable for a lot of concepts, to give Google some more semantic information so it understands the context of the copy that you're writing. And what WordLift does is it'll read your content and it will automatically add that schema to help Google rank you for the right keywords, the right topics, and make sure that your content is relevant to the right topics. So those are two AI tools. I want to talk quickly about adopting SEO tools. So AI is going to be huge next year and beyond. So AI is going to be integrated into the tools that we're already using. You might be using an SEO tool like SEMrush or Ahrefs or something like that. But also there will be dedicated AI tools that fit into your workflow. And right now, this is really where the biggest opportunity is, because these tools are pretty capable right now, and they're just going to get more capable. So if you want to get started with SEO tools, add them to your workflow, you really need to map out your workflow. And I'll show you an example on the next slide. But for example, you might have a content creation workflow that starts with keyword research, and then a content brief, and then writing content, and then content revisions, and then optimization. But map out your workflow so you can identify the right opportunities to add an AI tool. Maybe it's an AI tool for keyword research. Maybe it's an AI tool for optimizing the content right before you publish it, or it might automate the process of publishing your content. And then experiment with different AI tools. Like, they're not all going to work. Some of them just aren't going to be good enough, or you're not going to like the way they work, or maybe they're automating something that you'd rather do yourself. But there's such a huge opportunity here that everybody should be experimenting with AI tools right now. So here I'm showing an example. This is an example of a map of the workflow of writing a piece of writing a piece of SEO content, and then publishing it, and then promoting it on social. This is what I mean when I say map out your workflow, and then figure out which task within the workflow you might want to automate or just add some AI intelligence to. Like, the best way to think about these AI tools is that they're not automating us away as marketers. What they're really doing is they're assisting us, and they can make our job easier or just allow us to do better work. But there's so many tools out there right now, so we should all be experimenting with them. Now I'm going to talk about optimizing existing content. So this was the question that Zoe had asked earlier. So the reason why we're talking about optimizing existing content is because it's a missed opportunity for a lot of websites. The case study that I'm showing here is something that was published by Barometrics, and what they showed that they had a number of pieces of content on their site that were related, but this content was not ranking. None of these pages were generating much organic traffic. And what they did was they combined them and consolidated them into one piece of content that was more authoritative, and they were able to double the amount of traffic that they were getting from these combined pieces of content. So imagine 4 or 5 articles on your website that are generating 200 visits a month, something like that. And then you combine them together into a guide or a more authoritative piece of content, and you're able to double the amount of traffic that you're getting. So this is what they did, and it's a strategy that works. Another strategy is updating your content. So this is updating content for 2022. Another trick is adding the year into the title, because people are going to click on content that they think is more relevant, more up to date. So don't skip the step of actually updating the content, but also adding the year to your title is going to help you get some clicks. Google's going to see your click-through rate go up, and your rankings will actually improve too. So then next, we want to optimize for people also ask and featured snippets. And the way we like to do this is by adding Q&A to existing content. So sometimes it's as easy as just adding 3 questions, each with a 1-paragraph answer at the bottom of an existing piece of content. Or you could add it within existing pieces of content, but it'll help your content rank because Google's looking for this Q&A style content for featured snippets, people also ask, and the web results. And then here's just more examples. This here is really about adding internal links. So one thing that'll definitely help is adding internal links to your existing content. So your content is more linked, you're doing a better job of sharing link equity and authority among different pieces of content, and that will help it to rank better and improve your traffic. And then we've already talked about schema markup, but there's a lot of different types of schema markup that you can add. That you could add schema to your product pages or to your articles. We just talked about semantic information that Google loves. And adding schema to your pages will definitely help. And then adding video or images. The way I like to do this, and it's easier when you have existing assets that you can add, but if you can add a diagram or a video towards the top of an existing page, that's going to improve your engagement with that article. And what that'll do is Google will see that engagement and that'll help improve your rankings and your traffic. So we like the idea of adding a diagram somewhere towards the top, usually like below the first sentence or below the first paragraph on an article or a video on those pages to improve engagement. So now I'm going to talk about optimizing for new SERP features. And SERP means search engine result page. And what I mean by this is this is a diagram of Google search results page. And what we're showing here is that there's a lot of stuff on the search results page. Like we're going to see the organic results that we're all used to, that we're all optimizing for, but we're also going to see knowledge panels off to the side. We're going to see the people also ask questions that might be getting in the way if we're trying to rank for the web results. And then we'll see like videos and a bunch of other things. So what's important here is when we choose the keywords that we want to rank for, type those keywords into Google and see what shows up on the search results page. If it's a lot of the web results that we're used to seeing, then that's the type of content we should be creating. Text-based content, maybe articles, maybe other types of templated pages, but that's what's going to rank for web results. But if we see other types of search results on the pages for the keywords that we're optimizing for, we might need to create those types of content. So that might be Q&A content. It might be videos or images or product listings, things like that. And I'll give some examples. But the key there is if you're not using Google to do your keyword research, you're doing it wrong. And what I mean by that is whatever keywords you decide you want to optimize for, put them into Google search engine so that you can see what Google is ranking for those keywords. That'll help you understand the intent behind those keywords and what type of content you should be creating for the type of result that Google's showing. Here's some examples. So these are featured snippets. A featured snippet is when Google gives you the answer. The keyword that I typed into Google here was how to know my size for ski boots. And Google gives you the answer. You don't even have to click on the page. So if Google's showing featured snippets, you should be creating Q&A style content that Google and putting schema on it. So you label the question as the question and the answer as the answer. So Google can find it really easily and you might be able to get this featured snippet. If you type in a local query, something like float pods in Colorado, Google's going to give you a map. So what the map shows, like if you type your keyword, any keyword, into Google and Google shows you a map, that means that Google thinks it's a local query. If you have a local location, then awesome. Like you can optimize for it, especially by doing a bunch of work in your Google My Business profile account. But if you don't have a local retail location, then it's going to be hard to rank for that keyword. One of the keywords that I optimized for that I didn't realize was going to be a local keyword was the keyword medical weight loss. So when you type in medical weight loss, I thought it was going to give me like medical weight loss drugs. But what it really showed us was a map listing. And when I saw the map listing, I realized Google thinks this is a local a local result. So if we don't have a local retail location or a local clinic, it's going to be hard for us to rank for this keyword. That's an example of what I mean when I say if you're not using Google to do your keyword research, you're doing it wrong. I typed the keyword into Google to understand what Google thought the intent was. And I didn't realize until I did that Google thought it was a local search. So then there are also videos. So this is, what is float pod therapy? Google shows videos for this result. So if I wanted to rank for this keyword, it would make sense to put a video up on YouTube and optimize it. Also FAQs, these are the people also asked. Once again, if Google's showing people also asked, then I probably want to answer the questions that Google's showing, because not only am I learning that Google thinks, or Google wants to rank this type of content, but I'm also learning exactly what questions Google thinks people are asking when they type in this example here, which is Marvel. And then image packs. So if the query that I type in, something like float pod images, is showing images, then I need to have images. We actually ran into this when we were optimizing for some Excel template keywords for one of our clients. And the reason why is because people were looking for images of different Excel templates, and that's how they were searching for like which one they were going to click on and download. So we had to create thumbnail images of the different templates in order to get shown for those types of keywords. And then there's also news results. So if you see that Google's showing news results, then you can create timely, frequent news type content and to get ranked. We actually did this with a Google newsfeed a while back, and what we were trying to rank for was the keyword mortgage rates, and mortgage rates is a very competitive keyword, and it's also it also required we had to publish 3 times a day to show up on the first page for mortgage rates, but it worked at the time. And then knowledge panels, if there's a knowledge panel showing up, especially for your brand, you want to claim it and optimize it. Oh, and then we're going to take questions here. But I do have more information in my Authority First SEO Strategy Resources Guide. So in this guide, if you want to download it, you can email me, or you could text the word authority to the number 66866. And what you'll find in here is some more case studies, some more tactics, some of the emails that we send out when we're doing SEO content partnerships and link building, and all that good stuff. So feel free to grab this guide if that is helpful to you. And we're going to open it up for questions.
Thank you, Dale. That was amazing. So lots to go through on went through a lot of it, and very, 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 some golden nuggets there. So let's start with again with I want to double click on the optimizing hundreds of agent pages. So I know you talked about just updating the titles, including people also ask and stuff like that. My question would be, how can you decide between, if you have the option to either optimize your existing pages or create new content, how would you advise people can make those kind of decisions? And how can you decide, okay, it's better to write about this new content or this new piece of content that optimizes agent pages?
Yeah, so I would say you always start with keyword research and developing a keyword strategy. If you have a solid, thought out keyword strategy that, for example, it might include going after some local keywords, some competitive keywords, and then a bunch of long tail keywords, something like that. Once you have a thorough, well thought out keyword strategy, then you ask the question, okay, how am I going to optimize for these particular keywords? So if I'm trying to optimize for a particular competitive keyword, do I already have content that I can repurpose or optimize to rank for that keyword? Or do I need to create new content? And that's how I would ask that question. I'll really start with the keyword strategy and then figure out how we're going to create optimized content to go after those keywords.
But do you think will someone get faster results by just optimizing first? Let's say you do your keyword research and realize, okay, I have already some content, but it's already aged or relevant. So what do you think is the most effective or cost efficient strategy, if there is any?
So if you already have content and it might be within striking distance, which is at least at the bottom of the first page or it's on the second page, then we would definitely want to start by optimizing that content because it's close. It's close to ranking really well. And we could do, that's the low-hanging fruit for SEO. But if we don't have existing content that's relevant to the keywords we want to rank for, or we do, but it's not ranking, then that's when we would think about possibly creating new content. But you also might be in a situation where you have content that's not ranking, but you can turn it into a more valuable resource. And like I said before, think about it as a guide to the topic rather than just a collection of 4 or 5 articles on a topic. And then that might help you to rebuild them and repurpose them in a way that you could turn them into one timely, authoritative piece of content that you can drive links to, and then you really have an opportunity to improve your rankings for those keywords.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think I heard somebody at Moscon back in July at their conference, and the analogy that he did that he brought forward for this topic is that, like shooting under the hoop or shooting 3-pointers, right? So those pieces of content that are maybe in the second page of the SERP, those could be your safe shots, low hanging fruit, whereas those new pieces of content might be more like your 3-pointers, right? Higher payout, but a little bit more higher risk. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So we have a follow-up question on this topic. Is it more impactful to fix all the titles, all the links, etc., across a ton of content, or to do deeper optimization, copy, links, images, titles, etc., on fewer pieces?
So that, the answer is it depends. So the reason why it depends is because if you have existing content, you have some traffic, right? So what I don't know is how valuable that traffic is. So sometimes you're in a situation where you have organic traffic, but it's not converting. So what that means is I'm not super excited about optimizing the existing content because I'm just going to get better rankings for the wrong keywords. But if I have a lot of the right traffic, and what I'm looking to do is to optimize my existing content to get more of the right traffic, then that's when I would focus on content optimization across the board. Now, but the question here is specifically, do I do deeper optimization or to just optimize all the titles and links across all the content? Like what I would do is I would segment my content to like content that's driving traffic that converts versus content that's not driving traffic or is driving traffic that's not converting. And I would focus on deep optimization for the for the content that is already generating converting traffic, because that's gold right there. It's silver that you could turn into gold is the way that I'm thinking about it. So I would definitely start there. And then once you've kind of got that, and once you've basically, leveraged that opportunity, then you look at the rest of your content and try to figure out, well, where's the opportunity? Like, what's the best opportunity available now?
Yeah. Awesome. So thank you for that, Dale. Very insightful. And I have a question about scaling content. So you talked about the top-down and bottoms-up approach, but in terms of the process of scaling content, so some of the challenges that we come across with some of our clients, they say, look, I want to create now 100 pieces a month. I want to create 1,000 pieces a month. Or if they're in retail and they're large brands, they have tens of thousands of SKUs, but they don't have the ability to, have 50 writers on a staff or an army of writers on a staff. But also, not only that, it's very hard to keep consistency, keep voice, tone, brand, style, all consistent. So from your experience, can you share some thoughts on how to scale content the right way?
Well, it's hard for sure. So what I've seen work is you just have to have the right approach, and the right approach is really thinking about it as a process. So you're not necessarily focused on building one piece of content and then the next piece of content and then doing that 100 times a month or 1,000 times a month. You're focused on designing a process where like ideas, topic areas, keywords go in one side, and quality content that ranks, educates your customers, and converts that traffic basically comes out the other side. So focus on the process. And if you design a process that can generate the amount of content that you need, whether it's 10 articles a month, 100 or 1,000, then you're good to go. But it's a process problem rather than a content problem at the end of the day.
I love it. And the clients that we have seen able to scale to those volumes are the ones that have a very well thought out process first, and then they start producing the content rather than start producing content and then figure out the process. So thank you for that, Dale. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say one part of the process that people usually skip is training for the writers, so that you can have a lot of writers on the project. You can swap writers in and out when they get sick or disappear or something like that. So what we do at the early stages is we're, rather than focusing on training our writer or writers, we focused on building training that is reusable for all of the writers that will eventually work on this project.
Absolutely. We call it internally the hit by a bus factor. You want to create a process that if somebody gets hit by a bus, the process still runs. So I totally agree with that. Okay, let's change gears here. We have another question from the audience. Can you provide pointers on how to optimize images for a given article or topic, or article topic, i.e., how to best write alt text, a combination of describing the image itself plus the article topic?
Yeah, so it should be descriptive. I usually write descriptive alt text that's like 4 or 5 words. When I'm optimizing images, I want to make sure, obviously, that the image file isn't too big because I'll slow down the page load. But also, like, I'm thinking about images as engagement. So I want to make sure that the images that I'm using in an article, number one, they're designed to get people to stay on the page, so they support the content. And that's really what I think is the most important thing for images, rather than worrying about rather than only worrying about page load speed and the alt text. I think the most important thing is that it supports the engagement that you want to see with that, because that's what's going to lead to rankings at the end of the day.
Awesome. All right, and if you're, I have another question here, and this is a very interesting one. If you're selling products for B2B or B2C, should your SEO strategy vary? Should it be different if you're targeting B2C or B2B? I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
So not at the highest level, but there are real differences. I mean, when you're working in a B2C space on one end of the spectrum, where you might have transactional purchases, you might be selling something that's a commodity, like a diaper or candles or something like that. It tends to be a very different project. It's highly competitive, but there's also a lot of long tail keywords you can go after. You worry less about educational content because they tend to be like, some of the times it's like a transactional purchase. But then on the other end of the spectrum for B2B, you might be working with a brand in a market where the keyword volume is really low, so it's harder to do keyword research. And then also it might be a considered purchase, or it might be enterprise level, where it's really a purchase where there are multiple stakeholders involved, so that you have to create content for multiple stakeholders who are going to be visiting your website and learning about your product or service over the course of many visits before they feel comfortable even raising their hand to have a conversation with you in the first place. So I think like the principles of SEO are the same, but in practice, like you end up having different conversion strategies and different search volumes for the keywords and things like that.
Yeah, I agree with you. And in our experience, it always starts with the personas, and they got to be very, very well defined. For one set of customers or one set of services, you might have 4 or 5 different personas for one piece of content, right? Or just you have 5 different personas in your target audience. While if you're in B2C, your personas are more separate one from each other. I'm saying, in the B2B side, like you said, there is a considered purchase on enterprise where you have the decision maker, the user, the champion, the influencer, within, and you need to speak to all. So you need to also consider the different stages of the funnel and the different content strategies and SEO strategies for different sides of the funnel. So I think in our experience, B2B is a little bit more complex. There's just more layers, but the fundamentals, like you said, apply across the two different audiences, B2C or B2B. Awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
So, yeah, I think we have time for one last more. Let's see if we can squeeze it in. Do you know of a data services for publishers that is similar in spirit to Canva? For example, pay a subscription to post data and or infographics within a few specific industries.
So I don't know, because I don't quite understand the question. So the answer is no, I don't know of one, but I would love to understand what you have in mind here, because it sounds like it could be useful. Robert, like, reach out to me afterwards, send me an email. So at least I can understand what you're searching for here. Maybe I can point you in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think we came across some data. Yeah, also feel free to reach out to us, Robert, to the marketing@crowdcontent.com, because I had a conversation with a software provider that is not Canva, that was talking about something that is special for publishers around this data. So feel free to reach out. And with that, we're gonna end. Dale, again, thanks for joining us. Has been a fantastic session. I think very, very insightful. I really hope people walk away with some actionable takeaways, and well, hopefully to see you here in this stage again, Dale.
All right, well, thank you for having me. It's always fun to talk SEO.
Yeah, and thank you everybody that attended the webinar. I hope you got some value out of it, and have a great rest of the week. Bye.
Bye-bye.